Picture this. It's Sunday afternoon. The phone hasn't rung in weeks. Birthdays come and go without a card, family gatherings happen, and somehow you're no longer on the invite list. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many of us, as we get older, feel like we're slowly fading from the lives of those we love most. It's not just lonely, it's painful. But here's what I want you to know. You don't have to beg for respect. You don't have to chase after people who've forgotten how much you matter. And you certainly don't have to settle for being an afterthought. Today we're talking about 5 powerful ways to rebuild respect with your family, without pleading, guilt, or drama. These aren't quick fixes or empty promises. They're strategies that have worked for thousands of seniors just like you, and they start with one simple truth. Respect isn't given, it's earned, but earning it doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity. Let's begin with the first step. Now, I know what you're thinking. Boundaries? That sounds cold. But boundaries aren't walls, they're guideposts. They show people how to treat you. And when family forgets your worth, it's often because you've forgotten to show them where the lines are. Take Helen, a 67-year-old grandmother from Texas. For years, she dropped everything to babysit grandkids, loan money, and host holidays, only to be met with eye rolls when she asked for help herself. One day, she quietly stopped. No lectures, no guilt trips. When her son asked why she wasn't available to babysit, she simply said, "I'd love to, but I need to prioritize my health right now." Within weeks, her family started checking in, not because she demanded it, but because her calm, consistent actions taught them her time had value. Here's how you can do this. Say no without apology when requests clash with your needs. Respond, don't react. If someone dismisses you, pause. A simple, "I'll think about that," works wonders. Show up differently. Attend gatherings when you feel valued, not out of obligation. You'll be amazed how silence speaks louder than words. Many of us fall into a trap. We think constantly giving, advice, gifts, favors, will keep us needed. But over time, this turns you into a resource, not a person. Let me tell you about Frank, a 71-year-old retired mechanic. He fixed his daughter's car every weekend, mowed his son's lawn, and never missed a chance to solve problems. But when he retired, the calls dwindled. Why? His family saw him as a handyman, not a father. So, Frank shifted gears. He started sharing stories about his youth, his first job, his travels, even his mistakes. Slowly, his kids began asking, "Dad, what would you do?" Instead of, "Dad, can you fix this?" Your turn. Share your story. Talk about your life outside of being a parent, grandparent. Ask for advice. Say, "What do you think I should do about..." It flips the script. Embrace new hobbies. When they see you growing, they'll see you differently. You're not just a caregiver or a problem solver. You're a person with layers they've yet to discover. Ever notice how the more you chase people, the further they run? That's human nature, but there's a way to step back without disappearing. To let absence make the heart grow fonder, not forgetful. This isn't about games. It's about creating space for them to miss you. Margaret, a 73-year-old from Ohio, used to text her kids daily. When they rarely replied, she felt invisible. Then she tried the pause button. She waited for them to reach out first. For 2 weeks, silence. But on day 15, her daughter called, worried. "Mom, is everything okay?" Margaret didn't scold. She just said, "I'm here when you're ready to talk." That call lasted an hour. How to practice this. Delay responses. Wait a few hours before replying to non-urgent messages. Initiate less. Let them come to you 50% of the time. Fill your calendar. When you're busy living, they'll wonder what they're missing. Respect grows in the space between always available and mysteriously interesting. Now, I know this feels counterintuitive. We're taught that family is everything, and it is. But sometimes, the best way to hold on is to loosen your grip. Before we move forward, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried setting quiet boundaries or changing how your family sees you? Share your story below. It might just inspire someone else to take that first brave step. And if you're thinking, but what if they still don't notice? Don't worry. In the next part, we'll tackle the number one phrase to avoid when family ignores you. It's probably one you're using now, and how to turn pity into quiet power. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Let's pick up where we left off. You've set quiet boundaries, reshaped how your family sees you, and created space for them to miss you. But what happens when old habits creep back in? When you're tempted to say that one thing that accidentally pushes them further away? Today, we're diving into the final two strategies to rebuild respect, starting with a phrase you might be using right now without realizing how much harm it does. We've all said it. Maybe after a hurtful comment, a forgotten birthday, or a silent phone. You sit across from your adult child or sibling, your heart aching, and you mutter, "After all I've done for you." It feels justified. It is justified. But here's the hard truth. That phrase is a respect killer. Why? Because it turns your love into a transaction. It says, "I helped you, so you owe me." And nothing pushes people away faster than obligation. Take George, a 69-year-old grandfather from Arizona. For years, he'd remind his daughter about the college tuition he paid, the cars he fixed, the bills he covered. Each time, she'd withdraw further. Finally, his therapist gave him a golden rule: never keep score with people you love. George switched his script. Instead of saying, "After all I've done," he tried, "I love supporting you, but I need us to connect beyond what I can give." The result? His daughter started calling just to talk, not to ask for money. Your new script: replace guilt with curiosity. Ask, "How do you think we could improve our relationship?" Acknowledge their autonomy. Say, "I trust you to make your own choices. I just miss you." Focus on the future, not the past. Let's start fresh. What's one thing we both could do differently? Love isn't a debt to collect. It's a bridge to rebuild, one honest conversation at a time. Now, this last strategy might surprise you, because it's not about changing them. It's about changing how you see yourself. When family forgets you, it's easy to shrink, to dress down, stay home, and think, "Why bother?" But respect starts with self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. Meet Rosa, a 75-year-old widow from New Mexico. After her husband passed, her kids rarely visited. She spent months in sweats, canceling plans, until her granddaughter said, "Grandma, you used to light up a room." So, Rosa did something radical. She started treating herself like someone worth admiring. She wore her favorite red dress to grocery shopping. She hung her old paintings in the living room. She even joined a memoir writing class. Slowly, her family noticed. "Mom, you seem different," her son said. "You're glowing." Rosa's secret? Quiet pride. Not arrogance, but a deep, unshakable knowing. I am someone worth remembering. How to cultivate this? Dress like you matter, even at home. Celebrate your wins aloud. I just planted the prettiest roses. Want to see? Reclaim abandoned passions. Dust off that guitar, those hiking boots, that recipe book. When you radiate pride in who you are, others can't help but see it too. Now, I know this isn't easy. It takes courage to stop pleading and start leading by example. But think of Margaret, George, and Rosa, ordinary people who chose dignity over desperation. I want you to try something. Tonight, write down one small act of quiet pride you'll do this week. Maybe it's wearing that necklace you've saved for special occasions, or finally booking that senior yoga class. Share it in the comments. Let's inspire each other. And in our final part, we'll tie it all together with the one mistake seniors make when rebuilding respect. It's not what you think. Plus, how to stay strong when progress feels slow. Because the journey isn't about changing others, it's about reclaiming the extraordinary person you've always been. We've come a long way together, haven't we? You've learned how to set boundaries without anger, rewrite your role without guilt, and replace pleading with quiet pride. But here's the truth. The hardest part isn't starting, it's staying the course when progress feels invisible. Maybe you've already tried some of these steps. Maybe you're thinking, I did everything right, so why hasn't my daughter called? Or, what if they never change? Let's tackle that head on, starting with the one mistake that undoes all your hard work. It's human nature. After weeks of setting boundaries and radiating quiet pride, you think, let's see if they really care. So, you test them. You skip a family dinner to see if anyone notices. You hide your needs to see if they'll ask. You wait for them to make the first move, again. But here's the problem. Tests set people up to fail. And when they do, because they're human, it reignites the hurt. Take Arthur, an 80-year-old from Maine. After months of practicing the pause button, his son finally started calling weekly. But when Arthur's birthday passed without a card, he froze him out for weeks. His son, confused, pulled away again. Arthur's lesson? Progress isn't perfection. Instead of testing, assume good intent. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Let me give them grace. Celebrate effort, not outcomes. Did your grandson text even briefly? That's a win. Communicate gently. I've noticed we've been distant. Can we talk about how to fix that together? Rebuilding respect is a dance, not a tug of war. Meet them halfway but never lose your rhythm. Let's be honest, change is slow. Unlike movies, there's no dramatic climax where your family apologizes with tears and roses. Real progress is subtle. A longer phone call, a grandchild's unprompted hug, a thinking of you text. Here's how to spot it. Track micro moments. Keep a journal of small positives. Today, my daughter asked about my book club. Focus on your growth. Are you sleeping better? Feeling prouder? That's success. Compare months, not days. Look back. 6 months ago, I felt invisible. Now, I'm rediscovering me. And if you backslide, that's okay. Clara, a 78-year-old from Kentucky, caved and babysat last minute after vowing to set boundaries. But instead of guilt, she told her daughter, I love helping, but let's plan ahead next time. Progress isn't linear, it's human. Let me leave you with this. You don't need your family's approval to be worthy. You don't need their attention to be irreplaceable. The respect you're rebuilding, it starts with you. Think of Eleanor, a 90-year-old viewer who wrote to me, after years of feeling forgotten, I joined a choir. Now, my grandkids beg to come to my concerts. Turns out, they just needed to see me shine. That's your power, not guilt, not demands, but the quiet strength of a life well lived. So, wear that bold hat, host that book club, share your stories, even if it's just to yourself in the mirror, because the world and your family needs to see the real you. Before you go, I have one request. Hit like if this video gave you hope. Subscribe if you're ready to take back your power. And comment below with one word that describes the person you are becoming. Resilient, proud, unstoppable. Your words might just give someone else the courage to begin. And remember, growing older isn't about fading into the background. It's about stepping into the light on your terms. Here's to the life you deserve, the respect you've earned, and the legacy you're still building. Never forget, you are always worth remembering. Until next time, keep shining.